Well, welcome back to the fields of Perthshire. We're on a pre-New Year or a pre-Hogmanay detect. Just the three of us today, so at least I've got some company. We've got Paul on the left hand side on the Garrett AT Pro International, and we've got Sneaky Pete on the left. No, we don't. Sneaky Pete is on the right, sorry, with the XP Gold Max Power V4, and I'm also on the XP Gold Max Power. This is the same field I was out on yesterday on my own. Turned up 3 coins and a couple of nice buttons, and we're hopeful of some decent finds. As I mentioned yesterday, we've had a few medieval coins, and I had a beautiful Bronze Age axe head from about 2,500–3,000 years ago off this field. So fingers crossed, the boys are going to turn up something good. Let's see how we get on. I've got a first decent signal for me. Paul's come over, he's saying it's a 48 on the old Garrett AT Pro International. I don't have a readout on mine, but to me that says coin, and Paul says possible coin, so let's see. Well, do you see what I see? Right here. Is it a coin or a button? It's definitely round. Don't be a button. Don't be a button. It's a bloody button! Damn it! Oh, Paul's laughing at me. It is a Tombak Button. Let's give it a clean up and see if there's any decoration. That's the thing I love about coming detecting with the guys. You get such incredible support. Such incredible support. So this is a Tombak Button. So a Tombak was a mixture of, if I remember rightly, 2 metals. It's copper and zinc, and they used them to make these sort of one-piece pressed buttons in the late 1700s, or mid to late 1700s into the early 1800s. And they would often add tin or even arsenic to give the buttons this shiny appearance. So don't go licking them if you find them. But it's a first find. It's not a coin, but it is a button. It's got a little bit of linear decoration on there. So first find, and it only took me 2 minutes. So just a few meters up ahead, and Paul shouts that he has got a thing. A thing. I wonder what kind of thing. Maybe a coin, maybe a button, or maybe some other kind of thing. Let's see what he's got. So Paul's got what he thought might have been a button or a coin, but it is in fact a bullet, believe it or not. That is a lead bullet, probably quite a small caliber, like a 22, and it has hit at very high speed something completely solid like a big rock, and what it does is it completely pancakes, but you can just make out the circular shape of how the bullet would have originally looked in the centre. So not to be, and you often get that, see those linear effects as the lead pushes out. Oh, dropped it. As the lead pushes out from the centre, that's how you can tell it's a bullet. You always get that linear effect on one side, and you get a small dome and smooth on the other. Oh well, haha. The wind is really strong, so I've been checking a few of the recordings, and so far, hopefully, you can hear me without too much wind noise. This is a really small, I think, a very small target. That I just caught the edge of on a sweep, so let's see what it is. Very close to where I got almost exactly the same thing yesterday. Piece of lead. Again, it's got this sort of funny colour, funny corrosion on one side. And yesterday I said I thought it was possibly a piece of medieval window glass, or not window glass, but the lead that would hold the window glass into place. And I think this is another piece. What do you reckon? Paul is on to quite a nice little find. It's a little button, and it looks like a domed one, and if you turn it over, it is a military one. So you have got a lion on the left hand side, and you've got a unicorn on the right hand side. The lion is the national animal of England. Well, in fact, 3 lions. And on the right hand side, the unicorn is the national animal of Scotland. And I think that this is a general service button, and that would date from the period around World War II. In the centre there would be a shield, there would be Latin inscriptions, and you can see there's a little lion on the top as well. I'm sure that's a crown just there if I remember rightly. But that's a good find. Probably dates to late 1930s into the 1940s. Well done, Paul. And in quick succession, Paul is on to a coin. First coin between the 3 of us, unless Sneaky Pete's already got one and hasn't told us, because that's why we call him Sneaky Pete. So this is a halfpenny. You can see the date at the bottom, 1921, which means it's George V. And George V is there looking to the left hand side. Georgius, by the grace of God, King of the Britons, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. So there we go, George V. Should never have been king. His older brother died during an influenza epidemic in the late 1890s, if I remember rightly. A global pandemic. I wonder where we've seen one of them before. And George V, who should have never been king, was thrust into to be the next in line to become king. And just to keep everything right, he ended up marrying his brother's fiancée, Mary of Teck. So royal family kept it in the family. And he's got another one, Georgius V, George V. It's another halfpenny. Wonder if you've got a wee pocket spill. 1916. So halfway through the First World War, and the same year as the Easter Risings in Dublin in Ireland. I incorrectly on a couple of videos ago said that it was the start of the Russian Revolution. What I actually meant was the Irish Revolution, or the Easter Rising. Ireland eventually, despite losing the Battle of the Easter Rising, ended up gaining their independence. They seem to have done all right since then, don't they? So, George V, halfpenny. Nice, well done, Paul. 2 coins in quick succession. And he's only went and done it again. I'm pretty certain that this is a coin, and if it's not a coin, then I think it's some sort of trade token. Almost looks like there's a heart shape in the centre, if anyone else can see that. Or is it just my imagination? It's definitely got the shape of a coin, it's the right thickness. Struggling to see any detail on this side. Couple of letters there possibly, but I would guess that that's going to be a coin, and if it's not a coin, it's going to be a trade token. If it was a coin, because of the shape, it's slightly crude. I would say it's maybe going to be someone like George the First. So you're back to 1714 to 1726, give or take, the first of the Hanoverian kings. Failing that, if it's a token, it would probably be a local trade token which passed as currency, and it would likely be made either in Perth or in Dundee, which are the 2 nearest cities to where we are, and most of them tended to be made in the sort of 1750 to 1850 sort of period. Well, Paul might be giving me some good luck with his positivity. I think that is a coin. And if it's not a coin, it's a bit of aluminium just under the surface. Well, is it a coin or is it a button? It's got this kind of sort of shininess to it, but that could just be the way the corrosion's come up. It looks like it's copper or copper alloy, which would tie in with being a coin. It's right size, right shape, right thickness, and see there, is that a head with a nose just here? I think it is a coin. And if it is a coin, it's the right shape, size and thickness for a bobby. A bobby being a 6pence, which would put it in the date range probably of Charles II, 1659. He was restored to the monarchy of Great Britain. Well, sorry, it wasn't Great Britain. It wasn't Great Britain till some time later, but to Scotland and England, because we shared a monarch by this point. So 1659 to 1685, give or take. Right,
Shiny gold.
I've shown it to Paul. He's come over with one of his finds and he's said, no way is that a coin, that's a button, gold gilded. I think he's havering. He's only been metal detecting for 6 months. What does he know? Look at that, that is a face. That's a head. Yeah?
You look at the clouds, I can see a dog.
Okay, right, okay, enough of that. Anyway, he's come over with another find. Another find, he's got himself a little lead seal. There we go. With the date 1833. And on the other side, what looks like Russian writing. So this is another one, yet again, shows you how many of these we find. This is another flax seal. So this would have been attached to bales of flax brought over from Russia to be milled into linen. Lots of mills, and we're very, very close to a man-made stream that used to harness the power of water to drive the mechanisms for the mill. So that's why we find so many. But it's a good find, 1833. Well done, Paul. So I'm over in the part of the field where I finished up yesterday, which has got like a natural dip in it, and I turned up a few signals just before I finished, and just got a little piece of lead. It didn't sound like a great signal, but as I said yesterday, it's always a good sign when you start getting these old pieces of white lead. It can be a sign of occupation. So it could be from a roof, it could be from lead from windows, but they literally made anything and everything out of lead, whether it be drinking vessels, cups, bowls, cutlery, water pipes, you name it. It was the lead was the plastic of its day, and because it had such a low melting point, you didn't need to be, a sort of specialist blacksmith in order to work it. So always a good sign when you start to get fragments of lead. So just next to the lead and slightly popping out of the ground already without any need to dig is this. Blew my ears off. Copper alloy, and it looks like part of a horse rein or a horse fitting, I'm guessing. Maybe like the cheek piece or part of the reins. Date wise, I would guess probably 18 into the early 1900s, but Mr. Paul has just appeared alongside, having whistled in my general direction, which always means he's got something good. He's only gone and got another coin. Coin number 4. Paul, what are you up to? This is terrible. I think we have to say that third one, I think we can say that wasn't a coin, based on what you said about my Bobby. So, Georgius VI, by the grace of God, King of the Britons, Defender of the Faith, and Emperor of India. So this is the Queen Elizabeth II's father, and I'm guessing this is going to be a halfpenny, and it is. It's a ship's halfpenny. Typical, the only bit you really want to see is the date, and it's a bit obscured. I think you're right, 1940. Yep, I think you're right, 1944. So towards the end of the Second World War. And it's called a ship's halfpenny, and I'm sure you can see why, because it's got this beautiful galleon on the back. Or 3-masted ship. Well, technically it's 4-masted. So George the VI, he, as I mentioned yesterday, I got one of his coins. He was immortalised in the film The King's Speech because he had a terrible stutter. And Colin Firth played him. Was it Colin Firth? I think it was Colin Firth played him. Quite a good film, actually. So well done, George the VI. Coin number 4 for Jammy Paul, his new nickname. A bit of a ropey signal, but it's been quiet, so I dug it anyway. And it's another 303 cartridge. Not particularly interesting, but hey, it's a find. Date-wise, it's going to be from the late 1800s, and it could be as recent as 20 years old, still in production today. I've had about 30 minutes without a signal, to the point I was beginning to wonder if my machine was actually working. Doesn't sound amazing, but I've not had a signal in that long. I'm going to dig it up anyway. And there it is. It is a thing. a thingy-majiggy. It is, looks like it's a bit gilded. It's got 2 holes in it. It's a hook, I think. Well, it looks like it's copper alloy, but it's had gold gilding on it, which tells you that it's not just junk. I think it's some sort of clasp, maybe for clothing, but the holes seem massive. What do you reckon? I'm certainly struggling today. Not a lot of signals coming out in the last hour. Could that be a coin? Maybe. Well, it's not a coin. It is a piece of bronze. And I think that's a fragment of a cooking pot. A bronze cooking pot, which means it could well be medieval. The interesting thing is I've done a loop around the field and I've come back and I'm not far away from where I've got those 2 pieces of lead, sort of what I think might be window glass. So we're definitely getting signs that there could have been some sort of medieval activity here. This sounds much better. That is blowing the ears off. I think this definitely is a coin. Now look at this for a sight. Stick the shovel in, crack it open, and do you see what I see? Boom. Right there. That is a coin. Definitely a coin this time, before Paul can say otherwise. And I think we've got the same coin as Paul got. I can see masts of a ship. So I think we've got a ship's halfpenny. What a beautiful colour it is. I think it's going to be George the 6th again. 1940, 1930, 1938. Right, I'll need to give it a rub-a-dub on the trousers to give it a clean up. There we go, what a beautiful toned coin. 1938. And then you've got the 4-masted ship's halfpenny. And on the other side, you have got Georgius the 6th, by the grace of God, King of Britain, Defender of the Faith, and Emperor of India. So this is George the 6th, the King's speech, the same George the 6th as Paul got about an hour or 2 ago. And it's the father of the present Queen, Queen Elizabeth II. This one is blowing the ears off. Too good to be true. I think it's going to be an aluminium can, or aluminum. Let's see. Well, yet again I was wrong. It's not an aluminium can, it is a massive, massive chunk of iron just under the surface. So, well, in fact it's not, I thought it was going to be a wheel, but I don't think it is a wheel. It is a thing. What we call in Scotland a thingy-majiggy. I've got about an hour left and I've given up on that last field. I've come into the field. This is where Martin found that sword, the basket hilt sword, a few months ago, and if you remember it was a potato field before, potato, and it's covered in all these big furrows that are really difficult to detect, but it's had a bit of weather on it now and it's levelled off a wee bit, but the farmer's actually come in with a plough and he's done these 2 strips which have kind of levelled off. So I'm going to wander around them, see if we can turn any more swords up. That would be nice. I walked all of about 6 inches and got this banging signal. Not sure what this is. Initially I thought it was lead, but I can't bend it. And I don't think it's bronze because it's the wrong colour, but it's very heavy. And it's clearly been something. Well, this field has been really hard going. It is infested with iron and there's hot rocks everywhere. Fortunately I think I've entered a part of the field where it's sort of started to quieten down.
And I finally got a good signal. Well, just shows you. It is definitely not a coin, because that, ladies and gents, is a big sheet of iron. Sorry, not iron, lead. See how you can bend it with your fingers. Let me see, it's not easy to do one-handed, but that is a big slither of lead. This one wasn't a great signal, but I dug it and I'm glad I did. Don't know if it's a coin or a button, but it's definitely metal and it's definitely green. So let's give it a wee crack open, and it is a button. Damn you.
If it ever was a decorated button, then the decoration is no more. That looks like the loop was there, and that means that this was the outward facing side. Silver plated or tinned. Date wise, I'm probably guessing it's going to be 17, possibly into the 1800s, but it's probably no later than that because it's fairly crudely made.
And finally, we're on a roll. 2 signals in 1 minute.
The wind is picking up, so I hope this cancelling microphone is doing its job. But I've spotted green, and we have got green. Definite green. That's interesting. That is bronze. That is bronze, and that is a big bit of bronze. Right, let's give this a wee clean up and see if we can see any detail. I think we could be onto an ancient relic here, or part of an ancient relic. Could that be Bronze Age? It's going to be medieval at least, I think. It's kind of got a little curve on the inside, you know, it's sort of as if it's maybe, you know, like shaped like a bowl or something, but it's not evenly thicknessed, which would make me think it is not a bowl. Could it be part of a Bronze Age tool, or maybe a sort of piece of waste from metalworking? But that could be very old. That could be many hundreds, if not even thousands of years old. What do you all reckon to that? Could that be Bronze Age? I've had a Bronze Age axe in the field next door. Could it be a sign of metalworking? Let me know in the comments below.
Right, the boys have caught up with me, and it looks like Sneaky Pete, the sneaky little devil that he is, who's always fantastic at finding lead. He's like a magnet to lead. It's like he wants to die from the toxicity. But he has found this. And this, I think, is the find of the day. This is a great big lump of lead. Okay, from this side, it doesn't look particularly spectacular. You would say that's just going to be junk. But turn it over, and what the hell is that? That is like a sheep or a beast. I think Pete's saying woolly mammoth, with a little figure. Look, there's a foot and a bent leg and an upper body. That looks like a horn. Yeah, I think you're right actually. Now what is that? So it's flat, as if it would have either been mounted on something or it was designed to go up against a wall. And that is, without doubt, one of the strangest things I've ever seen. The question is, what is it? And how old is it? You know, generally when things are made of lead, they've normally got quite a bit of age to them, because people started to make things from pewter and, you know, more human-friendly metals than toxic lead. So could that have a bit of age to it? Could it be medieval? Could it even be Roman? I've got no idea is the answer, but either way, that is one of the strangest looking things that we've had out of a field. Even stranger than Martin's giraffe that he got last week, which was epic, but it was made of plastic. This, on the other hand, is lead. So what do you reckon to that? That is bizarre. Bizarre. Well done, Pete, for finding, without doubt, the strangest find that we've had in a long time, but that is definitely find of the day. Well done, Sneaky Pete, the lead magnet. Always keep your eyes open when you're detecting for any eyes only finds. Could we have another smoking pipe here? Oh, it's got the right shape. It's coming. Ah, it's not. It's the end of a silicon gun. Oh, I thought that was clay. It was going to be another clay pipe. Oh, how embarrassing. I'm going to leave that in just to show you how stupid I can be sometimes. Here's hoping I can bounce back from the embarrassment of my silicon gun pipe by finding a coin.
We're inside the last half hour, so I could really do with something good. Just to finish it off. What's going on here? And it is a piece of charcoal, a piece of coke. Damn it. Well, this one didn't even sound that great until it came out the ground. Now, is it a coin or is it a goddamn button? And it is a goddamn button. Typical. Just having one of those days today. It's probably going to date to the 1700s into the early 1800s. But it's still a find. And it's still got a bit of age to it. I would just like another coin. But it doesn't look like I'm going to get one.
Another button for me. Again, I thought it was a really erratic signal. It was just under the surface. It sounded like it was going to be junk, but it's another one of these one-piece pressed Tombak buttons that have been tinned or silvered. Probably dates to the mid to late 1700s into the early 1800s. And Pete has also struck silver, albeit silver button. On the back, it is pretty plain, copper alloy. But on the other side, look at that. Wow, that's pretty. So again, that's probably a similar date to mine, probably in the mid to late 1700s, possibly into the early 1800s, but silver plated on copper. Would have looked very smart when it was newly made. Pete's on the finds today. Well done, Pete. This is the face of an incredibly happy man because he has just found a massive silver coin. A massive silver coin. 2000 rice or rice. And then at the top here it says 1870, but on the other side it says 1889. And it's Petrus II DG, which I'm assuming means De Gratia. And the rest of it, we've got no idea. But look at the beard on him. And more importantly, look at the size of the coin. That must be the biggest silver coin that anyone I know has ever found. And that is massive. Now, with the power of Google, we've just gone online. This is from Brazil. How does a silver coin from Brazil, made in 1889, end up in Perthshire in Scotland? And it is solid silver. It weighs 25 grams or 26 grams, so it's almost 1 ounce. And it's minted in Brazil. That has got to be one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. 2000 reis from Brazil. So it's either come over in 1870 or it's come over in 1889 or thereafter. But how on earth does a coin like this end up next to a stream in Perthshire in Scotland? That has got to be the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Well, Paul, well done, son. That is tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. That is the biggest silver coin I've ever seen. And it's from Brazil. That just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. There must be a story behind it, but we might never find out what it is. Pete, I think you've been knocked off find of the day, I'm afraid. With your lead, your man riding the beast, or whatever it is he's riding. What a day. I mean, it's been rubbish for me, but you two, my God, that is phenomenal. That's why we go metal detecting. Champion. Well done, son. Well, on that...
That's mental, isn't it?
That is mental. On that happy note, we're going to call it a day today. Pete's just filling in his hole, so that must have been another bit of lead for him. A bottle top. Well done, Pete, with the bottle top. So that has been a fantastic day for this pair. And thank you all for watching. And we will see you on the next dig. But if we don't, have a tremendous Hogmanay when it comes, or New Year's Eve. And best wishes for 2022. Stay safe.